Okay, so today in Pera Pera class, we are going to learn giving advice. たらどうですか？何々したらどうですか？をってみたらのはどうとか and some variations. Well, I first thought, or like when I look at a book, it says, why don't you, as the translation for たらどうですか? Well, why don't you? As in here, as suggestion, advice, or recommendation. So in this case, たらどうですか? We'll have a look today in this case. So first, we'll have a look at grammar. How do we make the sentences properly in Japanese? Very simple. So you have to remember short form, verbs. Verbs in short form, past tense, plus la, plus どうですか? So you know どうですか? どうですか? As in like, how is it? What do you think? Or how is it? And stuff. And la can come from the condition, like if or something, and short form and past tense. For example, I have written two examples here. 運動する and short form past tense. 運動した plus らどうですか? 運動したらどうですか? And the next one. ちょっと休む。ちょっと休んだらどうですか? ちょっと休んだらどうですか? So these will be translated. For example, why don't you do some exercise? Or like, how about having a break a bit? Or like, why don't you rest now? Or like, why don't you relax for a while and stuff? So just grammar is very simple as usual. So short form, as long as you remember the short form's past tense, just in case, let's have a look at some examples. Short form past tense, well, these are very basic beginner verbs. Ru verbs, u verbs, irregular verbs. 見る、見た、食べる、食べた、飲む、飲んだ、待つ、待った、来る、来た, and stuff like that. So te form, and then you just change it to ta. And we can also have a look at these a bit advanced verbs, which appear in the Genki Advanced, the Genki 2 books as well. And more practical verbs. 頑張る to try hard. 頑張った。あげる to give. あげた。送る to send. 送った。諦める to give up. 諦めた。相談するwell, the book says it's like to consult with, but it could, you ask somebody for advice, or like you talk to somebody when you have a problem. So 相談する、相談した。Right. So these verbs can be used in those sentences when you suggest something, when you give advice to somebody, when you what was the last one? Recommend something, right? These are just examples. Well, variations. Informal speech or informal speech, casual speech, natural conversations and stuff. So the basic one, the textbook sentence. ブラブラしたらどうですか? たらどうですか written on the title. But as you might have noticed, when it's da at the end of short form past tense, of course, it's 休んだらどうですか instead of 休んだらどうですか So ta or da depends on the conjugation. ちょっと休んだらどうですか as a basic form. And the longer, more polite, so the shorter, more casual, or like informal, not impolite, informal. ちょっと休んだらどう without ですか That would be casual, so you can't say it to your boss or the older people with higher social positions. And even shorter. ちょっと休んだら I will say this to my family or friends or like very close people. But as a variation, I would the most naturally say this way. 休んでみたら actually. What does where does this day come from? ちょっと休んだらどうですか？ちょっと休んだら but I would say ちょっと休んでみたら Well, te form again here actually. Well, this is what we have looked before. Blah, blah, te miru. So give it a try. So just suggestion as, why don't you just give a slightly try to do that? Because it's an advice or recommendation when you see the person not doing it, right? So I think personally, this would be more mild to say or to give advice. So ちょっと休んでみたら Right, so this te miru can be also used like a combined skill, right? So Pera Pera Class can combine all the skills you know and all the tips and grammar and stuff. Okay, so you might have noticed. So たらどうですか? Directly translated. How about どうですか? If you did, like as in past form, right? So apparently the person hasn't done it. So how about if you did, but you haven't thing? So as a nuance, this expression may contain some slight criticism for the person not doing it. So you learn this expression in textbook, but this is textbook expression. It is important to know this, the grammar and the basic idea of the sentence. But as in the daily conversations, when you say ちょっと休んだらどうですか? It is like no problem. That's, it not necessarily always a criticism, but it can sound like it. I mean, it should be the same in English or in other languages as well. When you say, how about doing that? That thing is usually made when you see the person has not doing it. So alternative options. Instead of like making direct advice, including indirect what is it called? Complain that you haven't done it. You could use like this. ちょっと休むのはどうですか? As in, making the whole noun using the basic form, the dictionary form. 休む。ちょっと休むのはどうですか? Again, the 休む, the dictionary form. とか. Like when you mention like examples, とか。Like how about having a rest, for example? So that can make suggestion like even more mild and even sweeter, and like just an random suggestion for you and stuff, instead of how about doing it, how about doing that. So these are alternatives, just so you know. More genuine suggestion, no other intention, no other criticism, critic intention, critic complaints and stuff. And another thing that I want you to be careful, that this is just suggestion, advice, or recommendation, not much invitation. As in, like in English, when you say, why don't you? This can be an invitation, right? Why don't you just, come and visit my place? This can be done. This can be used. But when you say this in Japanese, うちに遊びに来たらどうですか? This doesn't really sound like an invitation. It's more like, you haven't done this, so why don't you just do it now? And stuff. Of course, it just depends on the tones and, the situation. But it sounds like maybe like somebody's, maybe family member, like parents talking to their kids' friends and stuff. You could do that, like, But when you genuinely invite your friends, that would be more natural. It would be more natural to say, うちに遊びに来ませんか? Why don't you? Like literally, why don't you? Instead of how about, どうですか? So literally, 来ません plus か。うちに遊びに来ませんか? Or I mean, I would say when I want to invite my friends and stuff, うちに遊びに来る? Well, literally, like, are you coming visit my place? Or will you come visit my place grammatically? But when we mean like, do you want to come visit my place? It will be うちに遊びに来る and stuff. So as in polite form, うちに遊びに来ませんか? Naturally, more than うちに遊びに来たらどうですか? You might sound a bit sarcastic. So うちに遊びに来ますか? Direct question, or why don't you come visit my place? うちに遊びに来ませんか? And stuff. So there are various ways of giving advice, and these are just invitation. So that's something different. But I hope it will help you some way. That's it. Thank you for watching. お疲れ様でした。If you want to practice Japanese with us and meet your new classmates, you're more than welcome to join us. おかえりスクール